Super Mario Bros. 3 is one of several reasons why I'm so fond of the original NES. I love this console so much that I've been using this NES-themed wallet for a few years now. As cool as it looks, however, it's also pretty bulky, and my cards keep getting stuck in these little slip things. That's why I'm happy to report that this video is sponsored by the Ridge Wallet. Its super slim design makes it ideal for pants-related travel and gives you just enough room to comfortably fit any cards you need to carry. And it can even hold up to 12 different cards while still having space for you to put your money. These wallets are also super sleek, very stylish, and made with extremely durable material. The Ridge wallet is available in over 30 different color variations, but they have tons of other products too, like backpacks and phone cases, just to name a few. I can use my backpack to charge my phone? What even? I'm honestly really impressed with these items, and I recommend you go to the Ridge website and take a look at them for yourself. Plus, you can use my coupon code, MARC, or go to ridge.com/Marc to get 10% off your first order. Click the link in the description for more information. Huge thanks to the Ridge for helping me out. But now, let's get on with the video. Aldo! Welcome back, everybody. Should I even bother with an intro? I mean, there's no way I'm ever gonna top this guy. So, just like last time, I'm gonna let him take it from here.
So I give you Super Mario Bros. 3!
That's right, folks. The game we're gonna be revisiting today is quite the juggernaut. Super Mario Bros. 3 wasn't just designed to be the ultimate Mario game, but with 16-bit gaming on the rise at the time, Nintendo sought to push the NES to its absolute limits and show players that it could still hold its own against systems like the TurboGrafx-16 and the Sega Mega Genesis. As a result, the game was an enormous success and firmly established its star plumber as an industry icon. The advertising push probably helped too. Mario 3 first came out in Japan in October 1988 and didn't make it to the States until February 1990, which apparently had to do with a chip shortage, but still gave Nintendo of America plenty of time to build up to its release. And as you just saw before, the game, along with several other Nintendo products, was promoted very heavily in the movie The Wizard, which was criticized for being nothing but a 90-minute Nintendo commercial. Now, I've seen The Wizard, and I don't think that's an entirely fair statement, because the Nintendo advertising does at least tie into the story. Then again, I've only ever seen it once, and that was like 11 years ago. But still, product placement has been done worse in other movies. It's like people only do things because they get paid. And that's just really sad. But anyway, Super Mario Bros. 3 had one hell of a development cycle. The production team was nearly 4 times as large as the original Super Mario Bros., and after serving as director of Mario 2 The Lost Levels, Takashi Tezuka, now co-directing alongside Shigeru Miyamoto, wanted to try something different with the sequel. This included changing up the graphics, revamping the controls, and actually making it good. They even tried using a top-down perspective similar to The Legend of Zelda, but like Batman vs. Superman, it was quickly forgotten about. And rightfully so. I can't even go less than a minute without making fun of DC, can I?
You freaking Marvel fanboy!
And as I mentioned in my original Mario 3 video, the cartoon was how I was first made aware of the game. I had the first episode on a DVD that I got from a cereal box in the late 2000s, and then when I started getting into retro gaming, I got a Mario 3 NES cartridge as a gift from my aunt, which I still have to this day. Only now it's covered with Cinemassacre signatures. Speaking of which, since I started doing this series, this is the first time where I actually went back and rewatched the original video while I was writing the script for the remastered version. And because of that, I'm much more aware of the mistakes I made the first time around, and just as keen to fix them. I know I should probably get into the game now, but Jesus, how was I okay with this? My freckles kept disappearing and reappearing. I talked so fast I kept slurring some of my words. I left in this editing error where I was supposed to focus on the Lakitu cloud, but then it just cuts to this random part of the map. And I think I recorded the voiceover for this and my Mario 2 USA video on the same day, because they both have this thing where I'm slightly far away from the mic while I'm on screen, and then I get closer to the mic for the parts where you don't see me.
What the hell were you thinking?
I wish I knew better then. But Super Smash 3DS Revisited is all about righting the wrongs of the past, so now that I'm older and somewhat wiser, let's go back and see if Super Mario Bros. 3 still holds up. Seriously, what was up with those freckles? I still had the flash file, why didn't I just go back and fix them? It wouldn't have taken me that much time to... Sorry, I'll move on. So, when Tezuka said he wanted everything about Mario 3 to be different, I guess that went for the story as well, since it's much more involved this time. After Bowser was defeated at the hands of the Mario Brothers, the Mushroom Kingdom is finally at peace. For about 2 minutes, until he sends out his presumably adopted children to cause trouble. These are the Koopalings: Larry Koopa, Morton Koopa Jr., not sure who Sr. is, Wendy O. Koopa, Iggy Koopa, Roy Koopa, Lemmy Koopa, and Ludwig von Koopa, a group of delinquents named after famous musicians, and partially inspired by Mario 3 designers whose names I do not know. And what they end up doing is steal magic wands from the kings of each world and use them to transform the kings into different animals. So Mario and Luigi's goal for about 85% of the game is to beat the Koopalings and turn the kings back to normal, and after doing so at the end of each world, the king presents them with a letter from Princess Toadstool that comes with a power-up for them to add to their inventory. But by the time they get through World 7, they're instead given a letter from Bowser, revealing that he had kidnapped the princess and locked her up in his castle while the Mario Brothers were on their journey. It seems as though Bowser had the Koopalings stir up chaos to keep Mario and Luigi distracted so that he could sneak off and capture Peach more easily, which is a pretty good plan. But I have to ask, did the Koopalings really have to go to the trouble of turning all the kings into animals? Some of them already look strange enough in their human forms. This guy looks like a character from Duck Dynasty. This guy looks like Gandalf if his beard was also his pants. And this guy's not even wearing a shirt. Come on, man, there's a child here. Show some courtesy. I do like how the king's dialogue changes when Mario has a particular power-up.
How about lending me your clothes? No dice? What a drag.
You must be one of Elizabeth's kids. So the narrative is handled a bit differently, as you can tell, but in terms of gameplay, Super Mario Bros. 3 doesn't steer very far from what we saw in the original game or the Lost Levels. There are coins to collect, blocks to punch, and enemies to kill without picking up and throwing things at them. Somewhat. But while the first one and the two twos threw you right into the action from the beginning, Mario 3 instead starts us off on a world map where you have to pick a stage in order to play through it. And rather than sliding down a flagpole or walking into a giant birdhead's mouth, Mario 3 has you finishing a level by touching this block that'll reward you with one of 3 types of cards, and if you get 3 of the same card, you get some extra lives. Which lost all meaning by the time I got to World 3 thanks to this infinite one-up trick. Levels also have P-switches that temporarily turn brick blocks into coins, and vice versa, and often you'll be fighting off tons of staple Mario baddies making their debut in this game, such as Boos, Thwomps, Dry Bones, Chain Chomps, Boomerang Brothers, Fire Brothers, Paragoombas that poop out little Micro Goombas, and good old Fishy Boopkins. Fishy Boopkins! Sounds like Mario has a lot to deal with, but it's not always about the dangers he faces. It's about the Mets, baby, love the Mets. Alright, let's go, get a home run, baby, love the Mets, let's go Mets. No, Mario's perfectly fine, since he can do things here that he couldn't do before. He can slide down slopes, he can grab Koopa shells and throw them, only in front of him, mind you. And unlike Mario 1 and the Lost Levels, where he turns back into Small Mario when taking a hit in any form higher than Super Mario, now this causes him to turn back into Super Mario. But only in the international version. In the Japanese version, he turns back into Small Mario no matter what. One of the few times where dub is better than sub. One thing that stays the same for all versions is how Mario handles. His physics are a lot floatier than the previous games, and sometimes it can make the platforming a bit awkward, but for the rest of the game it feels pretty natural. And honestly, with how many power-ups Mario has at his disposal here, you might not really care. The Super Mushroom, the Fire Flower, and the Starman are all here, though the Starman doesn't last as long as it used to. But of course, there's a crapload of new ones. The Super Leaf turns Mario into Raccoon Mario and lets him float in midair to cover some extra distance, kill bad guys by spinning his tail, and by gaining enough running speed and filling up the P meter, he can fly for a short period of time. The P-Wing is exactly the same, only you can fly as much as you want until you finish a stage or take a hit and lose the power-up. And by holding down on the D-pad and pressing the B button, Tanuki Mario can turn into a statue, which is apparently so powerful that it can even kill fire. I guess Joey's rock-paper-scissors strategy doesn't apply now. There's also the frog suit and the Goomba shoe, but they're a little too situational for my liking. The frog suit's only good for swimming since it sucks on dry land, and the Goomba shoe lets you kill spiked enemies and walk over spiked hazards, but I can just use the Tanuki suit to take care of both. Finally, there's the Hammer Brothers suit, which lets Mario throw hammers that kill virtually any foes, and hide in its shell to reflect projectiles. It's pretty awesome under the right circumstances, but it doesn't work on all bad guys, and you throw hammers in an arc like a real Hammer Brother, so it's not always the most reliable. But back to the level design. So some stages are basic platforming affairs, while others are auto-scrollers, where the screen moves by itself at a particular speed, and you have to keep up. Did I just move through that platform? What? But Super Mario Bros. 3 also has fortress levels, where you go through some platforming challenges and square off against Boom Boom at the end. And then there's an airship level where you take on one of the Koopalings. Every single world has roughly 8 to 10 normal levels, at least 1 or 2 fortresses, and 1 airship level. Sorry. I've yet to mention, however, that the worlds also have their own unique settings. Giant Land is the one everyone seems to like the most, and in my original video I said I didn't really see the appeal. But I think I only said that because Some Call Me Johnny said the same thing in his Mario 3 review, and I just wanted to be more like him. Because clearly, forming your own opinions and thinking for yourself is too much work. So just think whatever other people tell you to think, even if you personally don't believe it. Is that a good mentality to live by? No. But it could score you a job at a major cable news network. Zing! In all seriousness, Giant Land's setting is very inventive, but it's not really taken advantage of a whole lot, so I think they could have done a little more to make it stand out. Worlds like Waterland are far more interesting in my opinion, at least in terms of navigation, since you can hop onto a boat and sail to other islands. Then there's Skyland, which consists of 2 different sections. First when you're on the ground, and second when you actually go above the clouds. So you pretty much get to explore both the sky and the land, but not in that order. And oh my god, the wind's really picking up now. There's also a grassland, a desert land, an ice land, and a dark land, and while these theme conventions often feel generic and overused in Mario games nowadays, I can imagine they must have felt pretty refreshing back in the day. What's more is that, unlike the other games, you're not necessarily forced to go from one level to the next. There are some restrictions, like you can't replay levels you've already beaten, which I complained about in my original video, but really isn't that important. And you can't take certain paths until you kill Boom Boom at the end of the fortress level, which, spoiler alert, isn't hard to do at all. But you're still given options to go through a world at your own pace, and probably more so than any Mario game since, there's plenty of stuff for you to do on the map between stages. In the 2-player mode, you can compete in these Mario Brothers style minigames to steal the other player's turn. There's an incredibly rare treasure ship that lets you grab tons of coins. And by winning slot machine and card matching games, defeating mini-bosses that move around the map, or visiting Toad houses and going through a Toad's personal belongings, with his consent of course, you can obtain some extra power-ups and add them to your inventory. So if you're feeling vulnerable, you can just give Mario a Fire Flower or Super Leaf as a quick little pick-me-up. But if you get another item while your inventory is full, you'll lose whatever the last item you had in your bottom row was. I lost a perfectly good Tanuki suit that way. Thanks, Sailor Moon. But it might be worth it if you score an item that can be used on the map to affect your progress, like the Lakitu Cloud, which lets you skip over levels you don't feel like playing through, a hammer that can let you break down giant rocks and reveal further parts of the world, the music box that puts mini-bosses to sleep so that you don't automatically have to fight when walking over them, and of course there's the Warp Whistle, which lets you skip ahead to other worlds entirely. In fact, Grassland has 2 of them, so you can make it to the end of the game as early as World 1. Which I don't really recommend unless you're an extremely talented speedrunner. Casual players should stick to going through the whole game, because you'd be saving up on clouds and pea leaves, which help make Bowser's domain less tough to deal with. It's not even that much longer than the other games, it's only like maybe 3 hours at most. Even without all those extra goodies in your inventory, I found that no Darkland stages were any tougher than some of the stuff I had to deal with before getting there. And that's probably the weirdest thing about Super Mario Bros. 3. The game sort of flip-flops in terms of difficulty, and I'm not just saying that because Some Call Me Johnny also pointed it out in his review, like the Giant Land thing I said last time. That's genuinely what I think, and I just so happen to agree with him.
Johnny-senpai, notice me.
Levels don't get progressively harder as you get farther along. The difficulty is constantly changing. Some levels require you to do a lot of busy work, which involves backtracking, staying in a certain form for pretty much the entire stage, and going through mazes, Pipeland especially. But instead of being saved for the later half of the world, they're just randomly spread out and sandwiched in between levels that you can breeze through in less than a minute. Mostly because a lot of them are incredibly short, unless it's an auto-scroller. You'd think it'd be different as you go from world to world, but no, it's the same there. Darkland is supposed to be the hardest part of the game since it's the last world, but Pipeland makes it look like a complete joke. Can you tell I don't like Pipeland very much? The only part of World 8 that gave me any sort of trouble was the fortress level, because you need to reveal hidden blocks and walk on top of them to go through these otherwise floating doorways, but they reset when you leave the room, so you need to figure out how to hit them and get through the doors without resetting everything. By the way, does anyone else find it weird that there's a pipe on the map that takes me just a couple spaces to the right of it? Huh. Reminds me of that video of the guy opening 2 doors that both led to his grandma's bathroom. For as much as the difficulty shifts around when it comes to the worlds and the levels within them, the boss fights, for the most part, are all piss easy. Boom Boom puts up absolutely no challenge. All you gotta do is stand in the right spot and jump on his head or just keep spamming him with fireballs. The Koopalings are by far the toughest of the bunch since they have more frantic attack patterns, but they still go down in the same way as Boom Boom, just jump on them enough times. Even Bowser doesn't pose much of a threat. You just dodge his fire breath and have him butt stomp into the floor until it breaks away and he falls right through. Or you can just do this. What a chump. But overall, what's my new verdict on Super Mario Bros. 3? Well, it's actually not too different from what I said in my original video, so this is a case where I sorta have to agree with my past self. Some of my thoughts have changed, but only with a few of the worlds and means of progression. I also couldn't help but be bothered by this thing where the way super mushrooms and one-up mushrooms move in when they come out of blocks seems to depend on which direction you're facing when you hit the block, but I swear it's different every time. Like sometimes I'll face the right, but the mushroom moves to the left, and other times it'll decide to move in whatever direction I'm facing. Someone please explain this to me. I need canal ledgy. Super Mario Bros. 3 is also one of the most graphic-intensive games on the NES. It was built using the MMC3 chip, allowing it to do things other 8-bit games simply couldn't do. And though the results are visually pleasing and very impressive for the system, it can also lead to a fair bit of slowdown and sprite flickering. And you can't see it in my footage because I cropped it out, but there's also a lot of empty space on the left side of the screen here, like this big bar that matches the color of the background of the current stage. I'm sure there's a reason for it, but it's still pretty distracting. On the topic of visuals, one of my favorite things about this game is the whole theater aesthetic. A curtain rises at the start of the game and goes down once the credits roll. You have set pieces acting like platforms, and Mario runs off stage right when finishing a level. It's really unique and gives the game an added level of charm. But hands down, the best aspect of Super Mario Bros. 3 is the music. This game might have had close to 30 people working on it, but Koji Kondo was completely alone when it came to the soundtrack, and he knocked it out of the park. It leans into this sort of island reggae style that suits the game incredibly well, and the compositions are just fantastic. The overworld theme, the athletic theme, the Waterland map music, the mini-boss theme, the airship theme, the credits theme, it's just an excellent soundtrack. So despite the graphical quirks and inconsistent difficulty, Super Mario Bros. 3 is still a pretty great game and easily the best Mario game on the NES. I already gushed about the music, but the level design is more intuitive and varied than the previous games and filled to the brim with secrets that I didn't know were there until I had to record footage for this video. The worlds have a greater variety in terms of theming, there's more to do in between stages, and the wide assortment of power-ups, though not completely great, adds some much-needed flavor to the Mario formula. It's not my favorite Mario game, but in general, I'd say it's probably the most important because of just how much of a legacy it left behind. It was the first Mario game to have a world map, something that's been used in almost every single 2D Mario game since, even some of the 3D games. Characters like the Koopalings became a mainstay, and you know that iconic blocky font used in the series logo? This is where gamers saw it for the first time. But if you want to give Mario 3 a shot, I'd say start with the Game Boy Advance port. I talk about it more in my Remakes of Mario Games video, but short and to the point, it's the same thing, but with added improvements that make it perfectly balanced. As all things should be. I'm Josh Brolin. You might say Super Mario Bros. 3 was where 2D Mario games peaked. It's such a big game and has a lot going for it, even with its more peculiar elements, so how could Nintendo possibly try and top themselves? I mean, surely they can't make anything better, can they? Well, if you ask me, hell yeah they can! The next game we're looking at is Super Mario World on the Super Nintendo, and anyone who watches my stuff will know that this game is my son and I will protect him with my life. I'm gonna have lots of things to say about this one, so just a heads up, that video's probably gonna be very, very long, but I'll cross that bridge when I get there. So, until then, this is Marc, aka SuperSmash3DS, bidding you all a smashing farewell. But once again, before I go, I want to give a very special thank you to my Superstar supporters, Red Rack, Henry Newman, Rachel Rodriguez, and Jake Winans. If you'd like to support me as well, then please consider pledging to my Patreon page or becoming a sponsor by clicking the join button. Membership options give you the same benefits as my Patreon, including being able to watch videos or read scripts before they come out, getting access to exclusive content, and getting shoutouts at the end of my videos. Both my Patreon and YouTube memberships are totally optional, but it would really mean a lot to me if you gave them a look. Now, apart from this video, I'm probably not gonna put out much else this month, because, as I mentioned in my Unpopular Mario Opinions video, in case you didn't see that, I'm gonna be busy for a while with this year's Christmas/holiday special. It's a pretty big episode. It's gonna have a couple of games in it that are really big. I've got one of them recorded already, but I have to record the other ones, and that's probably gonna take all month. Working on that video is probably going to take all month going into December for me to do, but a lot of you have been really patient with me, which I am super grateful for. You have no idea how much it means to me. The Christmas special is probably going to be the biggest episode of my review show that I'll ever do, for now anyway, even bigger than my Origami King and Super Mario Odyssey videos, certainly much longer, so as you can imagine, I'm going to be putting a lot of time and effort into making sure I get it just right, but yeah, hopefully this will be enough to hold you over until then. As always, links to my social media and Discord server are in the description, and if you want to stay updated on my future uploads, then be sure to ring that notification bell. I can't do the outro because I already did it, so I'll just say thanks again for watching, and I'll see you all next time. Take care, everybody.